All right. Hey, we're going live, and we're going to talk about what my brother explained, and we're going to talk about how the latest Jehovah's Witness article, jw.org, has Jehovah betting on your financial failure. So let's get the.
Oh, hi, Dean. How you doing? It's good to see you again, Dean. Hi, guys. Sit down.
That's right. So if you go to jw.org, the that's the that's the link, the article of the day. Economic problems. What God's kingdom will do. And my brother Jesse had me change the title because I was using the word stupid. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he didn't like that.
I
Turns
we got to turn a new leaf. We can't do it because we all make mistakes. But we're going to examine, and what we're going to do is rebuttal, but we don't have to call names.
correct.
Yeah.
So Watchtower writes this article, and you're not. This is just economic problems. What God's kingdom will do. Let's follow this. For many people around the world, making ends meet is a constant struggle, and one that is getting harder. According to a recent global report, there has been and it has an asterisk there. There has been a striking fail in real monthly wages. It warns that if nothing is done, there will be an increase in inequality and a decline in the living standards of many workers and their families. Will governments be able to address this growing economic crisis, let alone solve it? The Bible explains that there is a government that can and will solve all economic problems, including inequality. It says that the God of heaven will set up a kingdom, a single government to administer all of earth's failures. Under that world government, no one will be forgotten or left behind. God's kingdom will ensure that its citizens have what they need to be happy. All will be able to enjoy a good reward for their hard work. So, after everything that is happening, um, and you are experiencing in the economy, Watchtower writes an article, and that's it. That's it. No mention of anything else other than this one little asterisk on the very bottom where it says International Labor Organization Global Wage Report is where they got, according to a recent global report. So I was thinking, Jesse, did you want to? Why don't you go first?
Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, it says that according to a recent global report, and everybody knows, we've been saying a lot of bad words about jw.org, and we got to stop it. But so we're going to dissect it, and we're going to beg the Jehovah's Witness to forgive us and give us a little bit of leeway and just listen to us. We're debating the Jehovah's Witnesses. We're going to try to get some counterpoints. For example, they said, according to a recent report, and they want to talk about finances. They want to enter in the world of finances, financial. Everybody knows that if you go to get a bank statement, if you go get a loan, if you go anything, they want your most recent financials. They want your most recent financials. And these Jehovah's Witnesses, guess what? This ILO, International Labor Organization, from 23, 2 to 3 years old. This is during the Biden administration.
Correct.
They're called New Light. The Jehovah's Witnesses are using New Light, New Light, New Light. No, you're not. This is old light. They're using old. In any bank, any banking institution, they would have been thrown out already. Like if Jehovah's Witnesses were going to refinance the Kingdom Halls, the banks would have said, no. We want your latest financials. They're using old financial news. Now, somebody could say, well, that's a little bit harsh. That critique is a little bit harsh. No, they're the ones who bring up New Light. And this is real important because twofold. They go to the ILO, if you go to the ILO website, they call themselves a United Nations organization. They're uniquely a United Nations organization. Number two, they don't even try to have some semblance of neutrality. They could have gone to the Wall Street Journal. They could have gone to the New York Times. They comag, CNBC. for the latest news. They could have gone to whitehouse.gov to get their take on the financial situation. Anything to give some semblance of neutrality. Instead, they go to the United Nations. And I was arguing with Grok about it. I didn't send it to you. And they said, no, that the ILO is about freedom and it doesn't promote communism. And I go, boy, you really are stupid, huh? Ignorant. Everybody knows that labor is a socialist construct. Everybody knows. That's why in English, it's called LABOUR. So we're dealing with some very ignorant forces here. In America, it's called labor, Labor Day, LABOR. Your labor, or you go into labor, or you pay labor, parts plus labor. But in Britain and France, Canada, there's a political party. It's called Labor, LABOUR.
Mm-hmm.
So don't tell me labor is not a communist, a Marxist, socialist construct. It is affiliated with a political movement in Western Hemisphere. So they're not neutral. They're associated with the left. And the Jehovah's Witnesses get their financial news from a United Nations leftist organization.
Now let's dissect the last paragraph. Well, look, it's only one paragraph. That's the insult. I'm insulted that they're painting a doom and gloom future, and this is all they have. Wow. So the last paragraph. Check this out. Let's look at the communist, socialist, progressive undertones. The Bible explains that there's a government that can and will solve all economic problems, including inequality. And that's how the socialists like Barack Obama, who say, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. There's always we're the real socialists that can fix this problem. We're the real communists. The other ones, yeah, they got it wrong, but we're the government. There's always this magical government that's going to solve all of your economic problems.
And not only that, Gilbert, check this out. Go to the first paragraph. For many people around the world, making ends meet is a constant struggle. Struggle is a key word that the Marxist communists use, the struggle. It is code word for the revolution.
Correct. So the paragraph says that's two. It says that the God of heaven will set up a kingdom, a single government to administer all of earth's affairs. But we were talking the other day, and God did not do that. There was a single government. It was called Babylon, and God did not like Babylon, and he destroyed Babylon into nation states, and everybody spoke their different language. But Watchtower saying, no. We need to have a single government that's going to administer all of Earth's affairs. Watchtower wants to bring back the Babylon the Great, a one world government, a single government. God's kingdom will ensure that its citizens, check this out. Under that world government, no one will be forgotten or left behind. Aren't those Barack Obama's exact words when he was campaigning?
Well, it's worse. They quote Vladimir. They quote Karl Marx themselves when they says, after that, God's kingdom will ensure that its citizens have what they need to be happy. Do you remember what that communist says in the World Economic Forum? You will have nothing and you will be happy. What's his name? That guy like Dr. Evil in the World Economic Forum, Karl Schwab. And then look at what Karl Marx said himself. Each according to his ability and each according to his needs. This is almost quoting Karl Marx himself. The Jehovah's Witnesses are this close of flat out defining, quoting end stage communism.
Yes.
When they become the end all provider to the entire planet, the one world government, it says God's kingdom will ensure that its citizens have what they need to be happy. It's Karl Marx. This is Marxism. where it's a centralized distribution of all products, goods, and services and communication. Marxism 101. Each according to his needs, each according to their ability.
And the last sentence says, you got it? Because what does the last sentence say? Can you read the last sentence?
It says, all will be able to enjoy a good reward for their hard work.
Okay. Now, before we go on,
you notice that the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says that the wages of sin are death. A worker is worthy of his wages. But there's a uniquely different language that the Jehovah's Witnesses use in the Christian foundation. They're saying all will be able to enjoy a good reward for their hard work. There's no wage scale here. They're talking about equality of outcome, or what you call, there was a word that you use it about the paycheck, where everybody gets the same paycheck.
Universal basic income.
They're describing a universal basic income here. So that's what I was telling you. Does Jehovah, is he involved in insider information here? Trading? Is he like Hillary Clinton? Is he telling the Jehovah's Witnesses what's going to happen on the road? What the government's United Nations is planning on us?
Yeah, but he's not preparing them. And speaking of the United Nations, why is this so important?
Well, that's the quote. This is the place that they're quoting, the ILO. So when you have that asterisk at jw.org, this is where they go to get their news. In other words, this is where they're getting their information outlet. They're not going to Forbes. They're not going to Wall Street. They're not going to the New York Stock Exchange. They're not going to any capitalist center for economic indicators. For their economic news, this is where they're going, to the United Nations International Labor Organization. Now, look it up there. It says LABOUR. Now, I talked to Grok and I talked to artificial intelligence, and I asked them if this is political. They said, no. This has nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with communism, nothing to do with socialism. You have nothing to see here. But it's in English. In English, we don't spell labor LABOR.
You are.
LABUR is a political party in France, in Great Britain, Canada, the Labor Party. We would call the Labor Party here in the United States the Socialist or the Democrat Socialist of America. Jehovah's Witnesses are a not neutral organization. And look at the corner what it says. Advancing social justice, promoting decent work. The ILO is a specialized agency of the United Nations. It's not just a normal agency of the United Nations. It is a specialized agency of the United Nations. So the Jehovah's Witnesses they're not satisfied in getting their news from the UN. They have to go to specialized, high-intensity training.
So how would you, if you went to a specialized high-intensity training school, what would the name of the school be called? Well, we can do that later. But also the colors. Look at the colors of the International Labor Organization, and what does it resemble? It's identical to the colors of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Right. And there's no such thing as coincidences. The Jehovah's Witnesses choose to use the same color fonts as the United Nations. They're making sweet love. It's kind of like they're setting their hidden message. You know, we love you. We're using the same color, the same blue and white. It's identical. So, anyways, that's that.
Hey, Gilbert, and look, let's go to Matthew 26:11. Is there a way you can go to there?
Yeah.
Or Matthew 26, 10, 11.
I had a different text in Matthew. I think it was 18, but go ahead. Oh, I was reading 11? The same one, but go ahead.
Okay, 10. But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? for she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but for me you don't have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Surely I say to you, wherever the gospel is preached, the whole world, what this woman has done will also be a memorial to her. Jesus talked about they will always have the poor. Now, Jesus wasn't saying take up a collection plate, or Jesus saying let's get everything in common and we're going to help the poor. He said, so everybody had to help the poor. Everybody had to be involved in charity.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus wasn't setting up a one world global organization for centralized distribution.
Mm-mm.
That's what these people are. And make no mistake about it. Jehovah's Witnesses are like the United Nations, because think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When they preach redistribution of needs,
Mm-hmm.
goods, they always claim the few that fed the many get the top position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens in communism. It doesn't mean you get everything in common. It's just everybody is commonly miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And the elders steal everything and they eat out of it first.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like in communism. The communists stole everything from all the churches and then they kept it and they enriched themselves.
Correct. And so the point I wanted to bring out on this, now we'll go into my section, is my part. JW.org financial article has Jehovah betting on your failure. Economic problems, everyone's seeing it across the globe, what God's kingdom will do. They're painting a doom and gloom picture. And if you saw, their article was only one paragraph long. When you're talking about something as serious as this, you would think that you would offer solutions of a bright future. That yes, this is the calm before the storm, but after the storm, we live to see a new day. There's, and we can build from there. But Watchtower is always preaching doomsday, is the point I wanted to make. Now, one thing, Jesse, that Watchtower can do is this. For example, economic problems. Well, not what God's kingdom can do. What can you do? Let me give you an example. Jesse, do you like to eat Tootsie Rolls? Yeah. It costs $19, right? You get 48 of them. Does that sound like a good deal? $19? Well, you say, Gilbert, this is the point I'm trying to say. This is what I would do in the article. I would show you that 48 Tootsie Rolls does not cost $19. Jesse, do you know how much it really cost? I'm gonna show you how much it really costs. Share screen. Those Tootsie Rolls only cost 50 cents. Because if you were to get these 2 quarters, dated 1964, 63, 62, 60, and they're old condition, but if you had 2 of these quarters, you can come to me, right, at Walmart. I'll give you $15, $16 for those quarters. And then you in turn can do what? You could buy the Tootsie Rolls. So Tootsie Rolls, a case of Tootsie Rolls, a case of 48 Tootsie Rolls costs 50 cents. What happens is the money that you have in your pocket, it's counterfeit. It's counterfeited by the very people who make it, because your quarter is not silver, it's an inferior metal. So the federal government has counterfeited its own money, and now it costs $19 for that case, when in reality it only costs 50 cents. So as a religious organization, as a religious leader in the article, I would be saying, if you have extra money laying around, $100, $1,000, $1 million, or anything in between, you want to be able to buy certain assets that you can save for this reason. Because if there is economic doom and there is an economic crash, guess who's going to be the first one knocking on your door? The government, because they want property taxes. They want taxes for the police. So what do? Well, you pull out your 50 cents, because your 50 cents is still going to pay for that tax. So if you own a home and your property is, say, $3,000 in taxes a year, you need to have at least 1 or 2 or 3 gold coins for 1, 2, 3 years of anticipated, economic turmoil while everything resets. So I'll give you an example. Back 1992, January 1st, Mexico, you wake up, and what happened? Our grandparents lost 3 zeros on the peso. And they said, you have a new peso. But the new peso, right from the get-go, was devalued. Like nobody had it, right? And everybody and their mother is scrambling because you had $1 million, and then you wake up in the morning and now you have 1,000 new pesos. So let's say something like this happens in the United States, because it happened in 92. Our grandparents went through it. Mom and dad went through it. So what did our uncle do? Our uncle, he didn't save in pesos. He saved in what? Dollars. So when Sears said, we're getting out of Tijuana, do you remember what our uncle did? Our Uncle Pepe.
He bought the inventories.
He bought the inventory with US dollars while Sears was leaving. So that's the financial education that Watchtower could be bringing people in, writing articles and preparing them that, hey, it is going to get ugly. Why? Because this is happening since the beginning of time when man invented money. When man invented like a silver coin or gold coin, they would always clip it. Because if you clip like 5% of a coin and just clip it, and you do 20 of them, well, that coin, you still get full face value for it, but then you make a new one. So then the government gets involved, no more clip coins, because that's stealing. So ever since humans have been around, we've been stealing from each other. We've been lying and cheating. So Watchtower just says, hey, this is a fact of life. We don't have to go doom and gloom and scare you. We just have to give you the knowledge and then prepare you. Does that make any sense? So what I'm trying to say is that Jehovah is betting on your failure instead of your success. Instead of empowering you, their article is saying, oh, no, it's bad and we're all going to die. But that's not the case. There's a lot of people talking about how bad this is. Listen, this came out today. I just wanted to show it to you. And it's going to blow your mind. This guy's he's going to get a presidential medal of freedom.
In that district, is that all part of the brainwashing?
That's all propaganda. It simply isn't true. And here's how I'll prove it real fast. Do you know that bonds are being raised today to pay for bonds that were put in place 10 years ago?
Now look at her face.
The only way to cover the interest on the outstanding principal and the outstanding interest is to raise more bonds. That is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. Over and above that, when you take this one step forward and you say, well, we're doing this for the children. I get offended by this nonsense because do you know that here in the state of Texas, there's an entity, one single entity that feeds over 4 million people a year. So what I have figured out, this is just literally 2 weeks ago, it's on my website, I wrote an article. If you repeal all property tax, you have excess money to cover off the point where those 4 million people won't need to rely on the government for food.
Yeah, and in it, basically, Jesse, he's talking about how Texas is bankrupt. But also the reason why your prices are going up, and this is a good, you're going to start hearing about this. It's taking off. Tucker Carlson's going to be interviewing this guy soon. It's real simple. The governments are borrowing money to pay off just the interest of the money that they borrowed 10 years ago. And you saw that girl's light up. It's a Ponzi scheme. And so people are saying, why is rent so expensive? Why is these houses so expensive? Because it's fraudulent. It is fraudulent. And then he goes into explain how the governor, how they're suing it, the governor, the state of Texas, and they're just telling, and it's already going to the Supreme Court, to the FBI, Pam Bondi's desk. The FBI is already talking to this guy, and there's a huge problem going on right now. And it's in Texas. The Texas is bankrupt, and then the people that caused it are also schmucks, because what Wall Street did is they took that money, the bonds, and then they sold it back to the teachers and their union, the teachers union. So all of these teachers think, Jesse, all of these teachers think, guess what they think? That, oh, I have a pension. I have when I retire, when I retire, I'm going to get so much money a month. They all believe that because Wall Street sold them a bunch of trash. And this is what Mitch Vexler's talking about. Ready?
Pretty smart people in this building. It sure is a hell of a lot easier to just be first.
Sell it all today.
Is that even possible, Sam?
Yes, but at what cost?
It's going to cost a lot. And what this guy is saying is, hey, this is going to cost a lot. We're either going to pay through our noses, it's going to be bad, or we can do this. And this is
what Mitch is really saying here to the state of Texas is, hey, we're going to need some help from the Fed. And the more help we get, the more controlled demolition. If it's just total implosion and total demolition, there's going to be carnage everywhere. But if it's more controlled demolition, it's going to be better. And I say demolition because it's mathematically impossible to undo what they've done to us already. Mathematically impossible. And obviously I'm talking about the bonds, the derivatives, the inflation, everything, you guys. Now, again,
I want you to listen to what this guy says versus the Watchtower article that we read.
Really appreciate you. If you followed along this entire time, this is going to be probably about an hour long. So I hope you guys made it. Everything is in the description. Don't forget to go to the Facebook group, linked in the description. Don't forget to look at the Freedom of Information Act. It's in the link in this description. If you're an attorney, reach out to Mitch. I'll also have a link to an example of the amicus.
Yeah, because if you're an attorney, he needs your help for the amicus brief to the Supreme Court.
But I'm going to say this one more time. Probably I'll say this a lot, actually. We need your help. Now, other than that, if you guys are out there just trying to figure things out, end property tax, and live a life pursuing happiness, we wish you luck, and we hope you win.
So here you have these worldly people who, one, are hoping that you win, even though the information they're giving you is bad. It's bad information, but they say, hey, you can set yourself up and help people and help yourself, and you could win. You can come out of this victorious. The Watchtower article is the exact opposite. They're preaching doom and gloom and scaring little children and pets in your home. They're scaring everybody.
Wait. And here's another thing. They're using economic data from the International Labor Organization from 2022, 2023.
Yes.
They didn't report it during the Joe Biden administration when there was real life inflation at an incredible rate. There goes again, the mixing of church and state, the Jehovah's Witnesses. They were in on it. They covered it.
Because they didn't, they weren't helping you back. Yeah, they weren't bringing it up back then. And this guy was bringing it up in 2016. And finally, his voice is now going to be in the millions. And here's the point. They kept asking for help. Watchtower should be doing letter writing campaigns, and every Jehovah's Witness in the state of Texas should be jumping on this campaign, having us. And these guys have letters that are already filled out. All you have to do is put in your name, your address, and you can mail it to the governor. Okay. And so the point is that non-Jehovah's Witnesses are saying, help us. And we, even though there's going to be a storm, the very next morning, we can get back to work. Watchtower saying, no, Armageddon is going to come. Well, and we're going to have one world government. Go ahead.
This is my question. Knowing the state of the bonds and of the taxation and the property taxes and everything, the state of Texas and other states around the country, the Jehovah's Witnesses are preaching doom and gloom right now, like on the jw.org. So what I'm asking is, they're getting their information from the United Nations. Does Jehovah get his information? Does he have insider information? Is he a day trader at the United Nations?
And that's a good point, because these people and others not only are preaching what's happening, they're telling you, like I showed you with the Tootsie Roll, they're showing you how steps that you can take to, one, save your property or to set yourself up in a financial situation. So Watchtower is very well aware of what's happening, the incoming doom that we all see, the financial reset that everybody's been talking about for the last 8 years. But here's the thing. Watchtower is zip. They just talk about bad news, but they will not tell you what they're doing to make themselves solvent after the storm. And that's the point. The point is that worldly people are helping you help yourself. And Watchtower is not giving you the inside baseball.
No,
Watchtower has the inside baseball, and they're keeping it to themselves.
Okay, this is where it's real important. This is where at the JG for GB, we believe in the union of church and state. You know how everybody preaches the separation of church and state? And would you mind looking up a Bible verse for me? John 14, and I'll read it 12 to 14. And it ties in economically, and this is how. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witness, Jehovah's Witness apostates who say that Jesus is a liar, that there's parts of the Bible where Jesus lies that you can prove that didn't come true. And this is what we're going to read, something that the most physical men can't understand it, but the most spiritual men, people that watch this channel, for example, we understand that the words of Jesus are true, that our eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Look, I'll read 12. Okay. Most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do will also do, and greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father, and whatever you ask in my name, I will do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask my name, I will do it. And greater works than this he will do. During the Christian era, that's what we saw with our own eyes. During the long history of man, even in prehistoric time, maybe in prehistoric times, Homo sapiens were being eaten by other creatures. Maybe 4,000, 5,000 years ago, man lived in complete squalor and had no hope to live out to his dreams. Maybe 3,000 years ago, there was no such thing as dreaming. Maybe the life expectancy was only 20 years old, 23. But along comes the Christian era. And look at what we've been able to accomplish. But you have all these leeches always that want to steal the wealth of nations, that want to steal the wealth of hardworking people. Jesus said we would do great things, and that's what we have. We have done great things. We went to the moon, allegedly. We've done great things. But there's some people who want to tax the hell out of us. So the words of Jesus are true. In all of history, man has lived in squalor and bondage and slavery to a select group of people. And during the Christian era, we've been able to break free from the bondage and live out a life and give something better for our children. That's how the words of Jesus come true in us, the Christian people. And that's what we have to say when we see this. We have to speak up. The problem is that a lot of Christians don't want to speak up. And that's uniquely not an American trait. If you go back to our founding fathers in 1620, 1680, and the next generations after that until 1776, they always spoke up. No, not in the New World. We're going to do things different. And then we build a nation, and all the black people and the Mexicans and the Chinese and all the minorities, they're saying, the white man this, the white man that. Yeah. So we fixed our original sin during our Civil War, and a lot of white people gave their lives to clean up our original sin. But see, this is what the Christian people have. We have come out of the deepest, darkest recesses of human slime and created a great place. But in all of our richness of the wealth of our nation, we have people who want to steal it. And that's the taxation that you're talking about. Those are the bonds. They were stealing the wealth of the nation. The wealth of the nation came from our hard work and freedom that Jesus talked about. We lived out. And I tell everybody that because, look, there's decay in everything. Jesus had a perfect following of men. And in his following, he had a Judas Iscariot. And that's what we have too. In the founding of our country, we had a perfect document. The Federalist Papers, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. But we had a lot of problems that we didn't foresee. So we have to work it out. We don't quit. One of the things I didn't like about this, He said that this debt that we have in the bonds is insurmountable. That is uniquely not an American position.
Yeah, it is insurmountable in this aspect. It's just the numbers thing. It's just what happens is you have to start just telling the truth that there was people lying, stealing, and and he brings out in that video where government, state agencies and financial agencies are refusing to give. This was before the Supreme Court. Like, where did who sold this bond? Who did you sell it to? They're trying to do a trail because they know, these people know that they broke the law. So the point is this: and he talks about people have to go to jail for this, but when people go to jail and justice is done, then what happens is you can restore confidence and that can get fixed. But it's kind of like in a marriage. When a man or a woman is lying through their teeth, you can't fix the marriage. It's only until both come clean. And then when there's both clean, you can fix the errors of the past. Even Jesus talks about that in the two parables of forgiving the debt. So these things it is insurmountable the way things are going now. But if people would just call a spade and let their yes be yes and just tell the truth, and the governments will just abide by their own laws that he's telling them, hey, you guys wrote these laws, then things can get fixed. And that's why that guy says either we have a controlled demolition or we have what that movie clip, sell it all today. And that's chaos in the street, in the financial streets. So I agree with what you're saying. It can be fixed, but the way things are going right now, either remember, like, I think Joe, our brother, would say how when it comes to God or dad, you want to fix the problems before dad comes home. So these problems you want to fix as human beings. You don't want God to fix these problems. But see, this is where Watchtower's wrong. They think that God's going to fix all of the problems. Do you really want God to fix problems? No, you don't.
Here's what's scary to me, and what you're saying is that if you listen to the language of that Jehovah's Witness article that we read over and over, dissected it, we see clear seeds of communism.
Yes.
And the Jehovah's Witnesses leadership. Now, I'm not saying that our brothers and sisters are communists, but the leadership clearly is. They're talking about Marxist language, each according to his needs. They're a Marxist organization. They quote Marxist. They even use the word labor. They don't use the word American. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses have to use the word labor, LABORD, because they are an American corporation. Whether you like it or not, they're in Wallkill. They're an American corporation. They should speak English. They should write their language, but they don't. They uniquely go to a labor organization, international labor organization, and then they speak that Marxist language. Well, what we have is order out of chaos. The Jehovah's Witnesses know that there's forces in play in the United States that want to destroy our economic system. The Jehovah's Witnesses are angling to be in a position to inherit, to be in control out of the chaos. And that's why I say they're uniquely not neutral. They're not neutral. They're hedging their bets. Hedge fund, get it? They're hedging their bets that the communists are going to take over. They want to see a controlled demolition because they'll be there to pick up.
Correct. But YouTube is filled with the exact opposite. YouTube is filled with a bunch of Christian men and women who are saying, no. Okay, we know it's going to crash because gravity is going to take over. But we have everything in America in place to wake up the very next morning and get to work. We already have it in place. It's ready to go. But that's the difference in thinking is what I'm saying. That article, that jw.org article, is proof that Jehovah, their God, is betting on failure. When we're saying no, we know the lies have a shelf life. We know the lie is going to be exposed. But we also know that the very next morning is a great morning.
And my question is, why? Why do they know it's going to crash? Do they have insider information?
Yes, just like you and I have, and they may have even more. But the difference is we share it with other people, and they hide, like we did in the other video, they hide their talent in the sand. And I'll just show it to you one more time. Watchtower is telling you there's going to be doom and gloom. when I'm telling you, it's like, no. And I'm bringing it up again. The Tootsie Roll costs 1 cent because you get 48 of them. You get 48 of them for $19, right? So when I was a kid, they used to sell those for 2 pennies. Well, it still costs 2 pennies. It's just the problem is you're not using real money. This is real money. And if you had 50 cents of real money, then you could buy those Tootsie Rolls. You could buy a whole case of Tootsie Rolls for just 2 quarters or 1 penny. And then you sell it in your store for 2 cents.
The problem is the population
No,
is
the
not
problem
informed
is,
in that. Yeah.
well, yeah, because people, like the Bible says, people perish because of lack of knowledge. The point I'm trying to make is very simple. Something as simple as basic as this is that average Americans and people all over the world on YouTube and other channels are sharing with you basic information like this and much more. And they're preparing you. And they say you don't have to look at the future with doom and gloom. Watchtower, on the other hand, has this information and a lot more than you and I have. But they hide their talent from you and me and everybody else because they want to be the only winners. And when you're in chaos, they want to have control over you.
Yeah, we talked about that because in some of their articles, if you go to jw.org, when they talk about financial news and problems, something that we brought up, they brought the International Labor Organization. We keep bringing this up, but it's it has nothing to do with labor. Labor doesn't have nothing to do with manual labor. And then, you know what? We're Mexican Americans. Don't tell me what labor is. We're Mexican. We work every day of our lives. Manual labor is the president, you know, and Manuel Labrador. What we're saying is that the Jehovah's Witnesses, if you go back and read their articles, they don't talk about working more hours.
Oh, that's right. And the other article talked about, finance. Never once did they ever talk about getting a part-time job or doing a side hustle. Never. And the other thing that they don't talk about, and this is going back to what you're saying, and these words should scare the living crap out of you. It's called the tokenization of assets and Watchtower. This is what you talked about: chaos, order out of chaos. So when shit hits the fan, they're already talking about tokenization of assets. What is an asset? Your house, your car. But they want to tokenize it into CBDC. So guess what? Let's say your car or your house has a value. Let's just use a number, $10,000. Well, guess what? They'll give you 100,000 tokens, right? And so you have 100,000 tokens on your phone. And now you can start buying things with your phone. And guess what happens? They eventually take all of your money. It's called tokenization of assets. Watchtower is part of the tokenization. I could see Jehovah having Jehovah tokens. And eventually you'll be broke. They'll take over your assets. I could see that day where all of these Jehovah's Witnesses are walking around with the jw.org app and they've tokenized their assets like a CBDC.
Like the personal homes or the Kingdom Halls.
How do we know this is true? Because it's like this is where Donald Trump is getting criticism from people that you never hear of, is that the federal government will not have a central bank digital currency, but Wells Fargo can, Walmart can, all of these companies can, and there's nothing to stop a church from having a central bank digital currency. So they can have a token, a crypto. So Jehovah can have a crypto coin, and all of your assets could be on your phone, a Jehovah coin, and you'll have 100,000. You'll have 1 million coins, but it'll be like slicing your home into 1 million pieces. So that's what's coming with this. Is that a stretch? Of course it is. But the point is that Watchtower is not telling you, like you said, about the inside baseball. Watchtower should be telling you about tokenization of assets. Tokenization of assets should be like gangrene, or what's that one in the Bible when people had the gangrene?
Leprosy.
Yeah, leprosy. Whenever you hear tokenization of assets, it's like leprosy. Run, burn your clothes, get out of it. And Watchtower is doing a disservice. They're purposely keeping everybody ignorant, without knowledge, and the people, like the Bible says, the people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's right there in black and white. If you go to jw.org, it says a recent article, and they go back to a financial report in 2022, 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not.
Mm-hmm. Now she mentions here that this is a good point, but Thornbush, if you go back and you look at that, if you listen to Daniela Cambone talk to Mitch Wexler on that video, the ITM trading, I'll answer this question. Why do coins say liberty? We're really slaves. Washington worship if he's a god. No. The land of the free. Why can't I pass my land to my kids without the IRS getting involved? That's a good point. If you go back and watch that video, he talks about the 16th Amendment, where the 16th Amendment allows the government to tax you on your income. But it is, and they're arguing this before the state Supreme Court in Texas, and it's going to go to the Supreme. And Governor DeSantis is already on board. Watchtower should be teaching this. And we'll end with this. You cannot tax property. You know why? Because the county assessor, like they've proven, they've gone over and they're raising the prices of all of these homes. And they're saying, well, Jesse, you know that house that you bought for $58,000 by the high school in Yuma? Now that house is worth $300,000. It's not. That house is not worth $300,000. You know why? Because you haven't sold it. That house is only worth $58,000 because you bought that house in 1994 for $58,000. But the assessor is going around and they're raising everybody's property value, and along with that, they're taking a tax. They're taxing your property by the high school on a word that's called, and you're going to hear it everywhere, unrealized gain. You have not had a gain on your house. It's your house. You haven't sold it. It's only worth $58,000. But the assessor is going to your house and saying, well, Jesse, your house is worth $200,000. Hold on. He just sold it. It's worth $250,000. Hold on. It's worth $300,000. And he keeps raising the tax. And then the rent goes higher on an unrealized gain. It doesn't exist. It's all make-believe. And then the house is not worth $300,000 because the median income of a home of a worker in Yuma, Arizona is only, say, $60,000 or $50,000. The average person only makes, say, $50,000 in Yuma, Arizona, $75,000 in Maricopa County. Let's just say it's going to be like that. We always know that. You always make more in Maricopa than Yuma. So the house is only worth what people can afford to pay. So that's what, see, this is, so at the end of that video, that's what the guy was saying. I need your help. I need your help. And Watchtower is like we talked about in the Matthew 25, right? They stick their head in the sand. They get the coin and they put it in the ground. When all you have to do is work together, like we the people, and help these people, especially if you live in the state of Texas. But so to answer her question, that's the issue that he's bringing up, and we should join the fight because we're being taxed on unrealized gains, and the Constitution does matter. So this thing when people hate on the Constitution, no, we should be mad at ourselves for not upholding our elected officials to the Constitution, and we should be joining Mitch and others. And Watchtower is not preaching that. And by them not preaching that and them not informing it, yes, they're making everybody slaves.
Gilbert, so let's say the personal property taxes are going to be taxed on unrealized gains. So this is not so much, this is a economics question too. This is going to be
also a 16th Amendment. It's also a 16th Amendment constitutional issue. This is why you can't tax real property, because you can't say that this house is worth X amount. Guy hasn't sold it,
but it could be taxed at the original property purchasing.
Then you would be taxed at $58,000.
But that's not happening.
See, that's why if you get rid of all of that, not only by getting rid of the property tax, when you get rid of all of the people, and there's more than one people that can assess tax agencies. And so what they're telling the Supreme Court is, not only does the Constitution say that you can tax income, the state Constitution says you can do a sales tax. All he's saying is, if we just have one taxing authority, the sales tax that the Constitution in every state allows, then problem is solved.
A value-added tax.
Yeah. So, but you only have one, and everybody knows what that one is. But this goes back to our Watchtower, by not educating people. Imagine, Jesse, we go to a room and everybody in the chat section, I can tax you, you can tax yourself, and then that girl can tax you, and the other guy can tax you. Everybody has a so this is what happens in your house.
Everybody's punch drunk.
Yeah. So the local school district, the elementary school taxes you, the junior high taxes you, the high school taxes you, the college taxes you, the Chicanos por la Causa tax you. Everybody and their mother is taxing your property. And that's what they're saying. Is like, no, we have one uniform sales tax. But this is the point that he's bringing out. And at the very end of the video, and I want to connect it to Watchtower, is they're saying, help us. We're almost there. We are at the end, at the end zone. We're almost at a touchdown. We're at the United States Supreme Court. I mean, the Texas Supreme Court. Please help us. And what does Watchtower do? They write a doom and gloom article instead of an article of hope. They write an article of despair while there's people saying, guess what? We can fix this. We can make the wrong right. It's going to hurt, but we can make it right. And that's the difference. That's why Jehovah is betting on your failure. Why? Because their article, one paragraph long, was written, like you said, with all the communist overtones. Like
to scare everybody. Yeah.
And to scare everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I scared you with those words, huh? Tokenization of assets. That scared the shit out of you. Unrealized gains. Yeah.
Well,
but it goes to show the difference between what real God-loving people are doing versus what Jehovah's organization.
Yeah. But on unrealized gains, I could see there being a fight in a Supreme Court by economists, because this is a very
this is why the sales tax, it's equal across the board. See, the sales tax,
a consumer tax,
is just one. So if you buy a yacht or a Snickers, it's all the same. Whereas the unrealized, it's too complicated and it's just ripe for fraud. And that's what they're talking about. The reason we have the fraud is because of what you just described. But by going back to the state constitution, you have one rate across all of the board. The richest man and the poorest man pay the same. Whether it's a Snickers or whether it's a yacht, it's the same. And that's where all men are created equal. So if all men are created equal, all men are taxed equal, and we eliminate this is where Watchtower goes to. They love the confusion. They love having all of these fights. They love having all of these loopholes. That's how they enrich themselves. Because if there was a uniform sales tax, Watchtower would not get an exemption. When they buy the wood for their Kingdom Hall or the stone, no, it's uniform across the board. If you're a church or you're a homeless person, everybody pays it. That's why Watchtower doesn't want you informed on this subject.
Yeah, not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gilbert.
Crazy stuff we talked about today. Say happy birthday to your niece and tell her we love her. She is gorgeous.
Okay, we'll talk to you later, Gilbert.
Yeah, all right. You got to see Jesse's wife's niece. Jesse's sister-in-law's daughter, Chantal. Gorgeous. And Jesse's daughter, redhead, beautiful girl, Jessie. Jessie has some beautiful grandchildren and family over there. So can't wait to get to Yuma. Say hi to all the kids, and Chantal, save me some birthday cake, please. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. And what does she say? Organized religion is just business anyways. They should have been paying taxes the whole time away. And those are not your words nor mine. Those are Jesus. Give to Caesar what is Caesar. Yeah. But in a way, it's good. In a way, it's good because now we know you pay tax, but they don't. So at the end of the day, when we die, at least you could tell Jesus, hey, I paid my tax. And all of the people in organized religion, they'll be busy with St. Peter while he's auditing their taxes. So guys, I hope you liked the video. I know it was complex and crazy, but I thought it was a good one. I thought it was a very good one. Jehovah is betting on your failure. That's right. And I put capital letters on all of the words except Jehovah on purpose. All right. Talk to you guys later.